What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I have got a quick little news / discussion video for you guys in regards to some recent news about Star Wars Squadrons. Now, this news is almost a week old at this point. I have been rather slow to get a video out on the topic, but I haven't really seen it talked about much at all yet. So I decided to go ahead with it anyway, and that little snippet of news is that there is official word that Star Wars Squadrons will not have an open beta at any point before launch. Over the weekend, Jay Ingram, the community manager for Star Wars titles, mentioned on the official Star Wars Squadrons Discord server that there would be no public beta for the game, as the technical test they did about a month or so ago was the proper test in terms of the server load and testing the game overall with a lot of random players, and so apparently they have no further plans for an open beta, which I'm sure a lot of people will be pretty disappointed to hear. Now, just to be clear, the technical test wasn't the test where myself and the other game changers got our initial footage from. That was just a closed game changer and media playtest where there might have been a few hundred people playing overall. The test they're talking about was actually a week after that where we all got to play as well. However, it wasn't really a single event. The game was playable for about 4 to 5 days and a lot of random users got to test it. It wasn't just media and content creators or anything like that, so I'm sure there were probably multiple thousands of people testing the game at that point. With that being said, I didn't expect for that to be enough of a test, as I'd assume they'd want to test the game in front of hundreds of thousands if not millions of players to get a proper test in regards to the server load and finding any bugs or issues or anything like that, but I really don't know much at all about how technical tests work. So I'm assuming that test was more than enough, and I'd imagine that they probably know exactly how to deal with the server side of things, seeing as EA is such a large company with multiple games that bring in millions of weekly players. So perhaps the server load tests are just not quite as important as I initially thought. Now, that's pretty much it for the news side of things. Really, that's the only information that we've been given on it as of right now. But as for my thoughts on it, honestly, I'm pretty surprised that they have decided to not go ahead with an open beta, considering the type of game that it is and the fact that a lot of people are obviously pretty skeptical about the game right now, which is definitely fair enough. Heading into the initial playtest, I won't lie, I was very skeptical of how the game was going to play and whether or not I'd actually like it, and coming from me that actually says a lot, because I'm generally that kind of guy that is pretty much going to like most things within the Star Wars universe, so the fact that even I was skeptical goes to show that probably a lot of other people are in the same boat. Once I actually played though, my feelings on the game were instantly changed. I was pretty much in love with it already after my first session, and I was actually pretty blown away by how deep and thoughtful the combat was, as well as the level of customization and all that kind of thing. Getting my hands on it really did completely change my position on the game. Now, it's not like I went into it thinking I was going to hate it or anything. I knew that I would most likely end up enjoying it if it was done well enough, but I just did not expect the level of detail, immersion and depth that we could see from the playtest, and so, like I said, the fact that they've decided against an open beta is actually just kind of a weird decision in my eyes. Of all the Star Wars games that have come out in my lifetime, this is easily the one with the most skepticism heading into it, with even some really hardcore Star Wars gamers not being sure about whether they want to get it or not. So if I was EA and Motive, I would definitely be wanting to prove to those players that the game is worth getting, because that's just going to sell more copies, as well as hype the game up even further for those already getting it, since they'll get a taste of it early and be even more excited leading up to launch. In my opinion, the game is definitely strong enough to actually persuade a lot of those players if they were to get a free weekend playing it or something like that. Watching the gameplay feels so much different than actually playing the game, and I think for people who watch the gameplay and think it doesn't really look that great, a lot of those guys probably could have their mind changed fairly quickly by actually getting hands-on access without having to pay the $40 to play. Now, on the other side of that too, EA has openly stated that they're trying to sort of make amends with their player bases and make up for a lot of the issues that they have had in the past, and so doing an open beta could also work wonders for that side of things as well. I mentioned that a lot of players might be unsure of the game and that playing might get them over the edge to want to play the game, but there's also going to be likely a lot of people who are really keen for the game, yet once they play it, maybe they're not going to like the game at all. It feels too realistic, or it's not similar enough to Starfighter Assault or something, and they end up not wanting to buy it. And so even though that might make a few less sales for EA, I think that'd actually be better than having a few million people complaining about how much they hate the game and how they feel ripped off and all that kind of thing, which we saw constantly throughout the lifespan of Battlefront 2. Now, that's not really the fault of EA in my opinion. If someone pre-orders a game and then doesn't like it, well, no one forced that person to pre-order the game, and it's just an unfortunate situation that they didn't like the game. But EA could do themselves a favour and give those people a chance to see whether or not they like the game, and then if they don't, then they're not going to feel like they've paid paid $40 for nothing, which would likely result in little Timmy crying all over Twitter about how much the game sucks and how much he hates EA. As far as I'm concerned, an open beta would do more good than bad for EA. I think they would convince more people to buy the game than they would to not buy the game, all the while avoiding a bit more of that whole EA bad narrative by all the people who might end up feeling ripped off, as let's be honest, any game that has ever been released has had plenty of people saying the game sucks and they wish they had their money back, so perhaps just giving those people a chance to just not buy the game would send their negativity elsewhere, while also allowing more people to actually be convinced of the game and end up wanting to buy it. At this point, it is definitely too late for them to change their plans, so I'm almost certain that it will not happen, but those are just my thoughts on it anyway, so I thought I'd put that out there for you guys regardless. I know a lot of you guys are probably skeptical about the game as well, so let me know your thoughts down below on the fact that there will be no open beta, as I'm definitely very keen to hear what the community has to say. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.